coaching the play basketball. Yeah. Hello. Who's that? My favorite seat.
It's really upset that we're not behind you. Usually, I'm like, sit down.
Welcome everyone to Open House today. My name is Mr. DiMartino. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Dake. We're so excited to have our teachers present their curriculum to everyone today. Do know that with some of the transitions, there might be a little bit of time where we catch up, we say hi to each other as teachers transition from the all-purpose room for one presentation to the gym for another presentation. We anticipate that we will be able to work through everyone by 7 o'clock at night. Should you need to step out at any point to shoot a text or call somebody, you're welcome to just step right outside. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to welcome Miss Lanham, who teaches Family and Consumer Science, down. She's a little nervous, so give her a nice warm welcome. Miss Lanham.
Well, you probably knew of it as like the old school home ec. The mission of Family and Consumer Science is to prepare students for family life, work life, careers, budgeting, and getting them opportunities for their knowledge and going out into the real world. This year, for 7th grade, it's 7th and 8th grade combined. So these 7 units will be different when they're in 8th grade next year with me. So there's a total of 14. But this year, we're going to talk about stress management. We're going to talk about communities and families. We're going to talk about babysitting and child development, careers and basic job readiness skills, budgeting and paychecks, as well as administrating and consumerism. And then we're going to talk about our last one, which is room and interior design. It does go by fast. I tell the kids this all the time, that over the course of the semester, because it is every other day, I get to see them 42 times. So I've already seen them 8 times, so the rest will go by pretty fast. I do not necessarily give homework, but if they don't finish an assignment in class, it tends to become homework, but I try to really aim for it not, or working with them instead. Okay, I think that was my 3-minute allowance. All right. Have a great day, guys. Yikes, it's good to know what they can do at home. Go for it, Courtney. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone. My name is Courtney Cox. I'm one of the 2 art teachers here at Dake. Angela Nasmos couldn't be with us tonight. She sends her regrets. But one thing that is nice for us as an art department is we work very closely together and have we both follow the same curriculum. This year, just like FACS, we meet for the same amount of time, those 42 sessions. 7th and 8th grade is also combined, so we have a rotating curriculum. So if you had a 7th grader last year who is now an 8th grader, they're doing completely separate projects. And then for those current 7th graders, next year they'll do the projects that the previous students did last year. With every year, we try to introduce students to a wide range of different materials and mediums, and really prepare them with lots of different things to introduce them to lots of different materials throughout the course of their time here. Really trying to prepare them for the high school, as they do need a single credit in order to graduate from high school. So really preparing them with all of those skills that they'll need to know. This year, we're focusing right now on actually the Senator Bob Ross portrait, not Bob specifically, but each class has a separate portrait right now, and each student is doing a separate picture to or separate square to the larger photo. So it's a great team building opportunity and a great opportunity for kids to get to know one another, especially now that they're coming from 2 different schools and now 2 different grade levels. We'll be doing clay this year as well as watercolor painting, so it's a lot of fun. With each project that we do, students will be getting a numerical grade, which is a departure from their time at Iroquois and Rogers. They get a numerical grade for each and every project that they do. And we use the same criteria for every project so that it's clearly outlined what the expectation is for the student for each project, given our subjective subject matter. So we really look at pursuit, invention, design, expression, and craftsmanship, and under those titles, certain things change depending on the materials that we're using. Yeah, we love our program and all of the kids that we have. We recognize that not everybody identifies themselves as an artist, so we still try to encourage them and make the art room a fun place for them to be. So, thank you very much. Social Studies 7, Mr. Porter.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, Mr. Cole. Both of you. Double team.
Mr. DiMartino, are you okay if we start early and just keep rolling with this?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Peak efficiency.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to be really difficult to figure out who's who here. So, I'm Mr. Porter. Okay. This is Mr. Cole. We both teach 7th grade social studies, and we are really excited to be here this year. And what makes this a unique experience for me this year is I actually taught Brendan in 7th grade, and now he's working beside me. So I thought there was going to be a difficult transition with the last name to first name use, but he's done quite well with it, so very impressed. So Miss Selecki is also on our team. She teaches 2 sections of 7th grade as well. She'll be starting on Monday. So we hope to work with her along with Brendan here. So Brendan, do you just want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. Brendan Cole, Mr. Cole. This is my first year teaching, so this is kind of crazy again. I was in Mr. Porter's class in 2011, 2012. Yeah, so 10 years, 11 years. But really excited. This is kind of my dream job, so I'm excited to be here. It's just been, so far, in the first 3 weeks, I couldn't ask for a better 3 weeks with the students and the people that I've been working with, and Dake family's awesome, so yeah, it's great to meet everybody that I've met today. So, this is an outlook of our units. So, do you want to start off with the early cornerstones?
Yeah, so early cornerstones of U.S. history is going to be a unit on the first Americans and how they arrived here to North and South America. So we started with that and how these cultures are going to establish these civilizations here well before Columbus arrives in 1492. And then we introduced European exploration. We just had a debate, both Mr. Cole and I had a fishbowl debate, and the kids were fantastic. They really prepared for it. And what they're doing is they're analyzing documents or primary sources in most cases. And to get them to participate with that is difficult. So when you make it targeted with a question that's engaging, like, is Columbus responsible for the spread of disease in the Americas? It really gets them thinking. And in fact, Mr. Cole has a quick insight on what he noticed with tying it into current events with one of his students.
Yeah, so today we did that debate, we did that discussion, and one of my students mentioned to me, can we compare the spread of diseases from Columbus and his crew to modern day spread of COVID, and the idea of should we blame Columbus? Should we blame the first person to get COVID? You know, and that idea of should they be punished for that? And it was one of those things where I kind of stepped back and gave a wow to that person because they are connecting previous things to modern day events. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. Those are the historians we're trying to build in our classroom. So that was really cool. That was an awesome moment with one of our students today. So yeah.
And then our second unit.
Yeah, so then we move into the American Revolution. We develop the idea of the 13 colonies, and then we move into why the colonies want to break away. We look, again, at sources, especially when we talk about the Boston Massacre. We look at sources from both sides. We're not just giving them what we think. We want them to develop their own opinions. So we are running a trial for the Boston Massacre. British soldiers, right? And really kind of critically thinking about the situations there and then working into how America beat Britain in the American Revolution. So that is our American Revolution unit.
And then we dive into the early foundations of our Constitution, where we get a lot of the ideas that put together our country's Constitution that we have today. So we look at aspects of Native Americans like the Haudenosaunee with their Iroquois Confederacy and tie it into, this is not just an idea that came up out of nowhere. Okay, Ben Franklin studied the Iroquois and comes up with this fascinating confederacy that he sees, and he applies it to our government that we have, especially when the Constitutional Convention was occurring. And then we get into life in the new nation.
Yeah, we talk about Washington's foreign policy, Hamilton, which is a big thing for a lot of people nowadays, which is pretty cool. I will be breaking out into song various times for our classes. No, okay. That'll just be in 319, I guess. But talking about the nation with the Constitution. And the ideas of freedom that we developed in the Constitution and whether or not we continue them after the development of that. And then into manifestos.
So moving west with the promise that the land was to be given to the white settlers as this idea of manifest destiny is unfolding, that it's our responsibility to go out and take from the people who are already there this land that they're not using correctly. So we'll look at various documents and perspectives, and we'll go over, we even do a trial where we put Andrew Jackson on trial for his presidency. Should we remove him from office? And we have a variety of different documents and characters that I'll play for the kids, so they'll get to individually ask me questions, and based on what they ask is going to determine how I respond to their questions. So it makes it really come alive for them, especially when they're trying to convince a jury of their peers of like 5 to 6 kids, and at the end of the trial they vote, and it's real in there, so it gets intense. So and then we dive into the Reform Movement project. That is going to be centered here locally with Rochester, so we'll look at doing a research project on Susan B. Anthony, Frederick Douglass, and Harriet Tubman. And those are going to be our options for this research project and how the Reform Movement is going to change America. America was in a time of need for change. And we'll look at enslavement, we'll look at Susan B. Anthony and women's rights and how that ball started rolling. So even though it doesn't happen right away with the the changes happening right away, they do eventually end up falling through for America.
And then we wrap up with the Civil War. We dive into the causes why there was a Civil War. We dive into the complex and awesome man that was Abraham Lincoln. We go over why the North won and if the Civil War has truly ever ended. You know, it's one of those big questions that we were asked. And that's how we wrap up, and we get them set up so that we can pass them on to Ms. Brannigan or Ms. Tamarchio, where they can continue on with life after the Civil War in America. So
So, and to summarize with our last slide, as social studies teachers, we facilitate thoughtful learning experiences with our students based on evidence after critical source analysis, intensive questioning, and exploring multiple perspectives. So we're going to lay it out there, and what we want these students to do is come up with their own conclusions. We're not going to funnel them down a certain path. We want them to look at all the different perspectives on a particular event and come up with their own conclusions on what those sources tell them. So, folks, we're going to have to cut this way down for across the hall there. I think we went over our time, but we're very passionate about what we do here, so excuse the extra time. I think that's it. Yep. World languages.
Here we come. Ready or not, last year I came in on a scooter, so this year is a little more normal. Hey, thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Guido, and I am the contact teacher for the World Languages Department. When you studied world languages, it was probably known as foreign language, which changed to LOT, languages other than English, which changed to world language, which changed to world languages. Next year, we don't know. So, anyways, I am going to let everybody introduce themselves. Once again, my name is Signora Guido. I am the Italian teacher here. It is my 40th year in education, my 36th year here, and I've taught many faces in the audience. So it's nice to see you, and thank you for entrusting your children with us. Lauren Sealy is a Spanish teacher. She is out on the field right now coaching your girls' soccer team. So the bus came late from Churchville, so she is unable to join us. She may run in later. So I'll pass this off to the younger crowd.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel Benjamin. I teach Spanish 1, so 8th grade Spanish, but my room is actually located over in the high school.
Evening, I'm Peter Hartz, and I teach 7th, 8th, and 9th grade French. Like Senior Benjamin, my room is also open in high school in case you were searching for me, which could be a possibility.
Guten Abend, ich bin Frau Green, the German teacher. I also am located next door. You'll notice that that's a lot going on in our world language because we have one big program.
I'm here.
Nora, would you like the mic?
Physically. Well,
I just wanted to let you know we're so proud. Not only do we share department, many of us teach 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, but we offer 4 languages: Italian, Spanish, French, German, and every year at the high school we switch and offer a world language, and this year it is Korean. So not only does Frau Green teach 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, they said she's not busy, let her have the Korean class, and that is what she is doing. But we're really, really proud because we are one of the very few districts, not only in the county, but in New York State, that offers this many languages.
Okay. So, like Senora said, a lot of the teachers that teach at the high school also teach at Dake, and we're a very close department. So we really strive to make sure that our curriculum is aligned from the time they start taking language in the 7th grade all the way up until if they pursue AP. Something that you might not be aware of, but something that I do want to emphasize is that Spanish 1 is it's an 8th grade course, but it's actually a high school credit. It's their first high school credit. So students, 7th grade students taking a language, that's just kind of the base that prepares them for moving on to their 8th grade language. So Spanish, French 1, Italian, or German.
yeah, they're all high school credit.
Yes.
So it's really
I think
critical.
I said Spanish 1.
Yes, it's critical that they pass the year and pass the exam for their first level of high school credit.
Yes, in spite of that, we managed to have a little bit of fun, or so we try. It is fun. Learning a language is like going back to kindergarten. You're starting at the very beginning, ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, and there's also verb conjugations and lots and lots of vocabulary and homework memorization and things like that. But we do try to have a lot of fun. Our goal is to learn the language. It's also to interact with the culture, to find out how people think differently, act differently, do things differently, and connect with the world in general. Learning how to connect with these cultures will allow them in the future to connect with many other cultures. And so, oh yes, the last thing, global citizens, of course. That's the overall goal.
All right, so what do they learn in 7th grade? We mostly focus on, as you can imagine, basic vocabulary, basic phrases, very much the base. It's an every other day class, so it's not a full, what do we say, credit? It's a half credit. And we also have to teach them how to be language students, which takes a long time. For example, we have to teach them about difference in grammatical gender and how to use a bilingual dictionary. And all of that is really tricky for your young students. Learning how to navigate proper resources. So, for example, not using Google Translate to get as a destination. You know, Google Translate has its place in the world, of course, but teaching them how to use a dictionary instead, and how to develop understanding and what even a noun and an adjective is. So there's a lot of work that goes into preparing them for that kind of more difficult 8th grade language class, which is their first high school credit. So it's a lot of basic vocabulary, but it's also a lot of how do you study a language? What does this look like? Because for many of them, outside of like Duolingo, it's the first time that they've experienced learning a language.
Thank you for listening, and we introduce to you the wonderful world of science, which I taught one summer.
Pretty well, actually.
Not lying.
I don't need that. I tend to be very loud. So if you can't hear me in the back, just yell, but that's pretty loud. Welcome tonight. This is Jill O'Donnell. This is Maureen Monahan. We teach Science 7.
Health is a 1 semester course, so 2 10 weeks, and you switch with either art or facts. I teach high school health as well, so the curriculum here at Dake is more of a foundation of health skills. When the students go to the high school, which will be, it's a state mandate to pass to graduate, it is a little bit more in depth. One of the things that Mr. Lambies and I really truly focus on is empathy. If you walked into the classroom recently, you see that there's a whole bunch of, there's about 100 different types of shoes. With health, it's about being a safe environment because the curriculum that they're going to talk about is most likely not what they talk about on a normal day in the household or with their friends and peers. So we really focus on, we all come from a different background, we all have different home life, we all have different environments. But in this classroom is going to be at least a safe environment. And the syllabus that we sent home, there is a handful of units that we covered between wellness, adolescence, HIV and AIDS, mental illness, anxiety, drug use. Really the focus is on 7 health skills and how we incorporate those 7 health skills to every unit: decision making, planning and goal setting, advocacy. And that's the background of our course, is that can you incorporate basic skills into everyday life. As the past couple of years have gone on, the curriculum has been modified and has been more modern in regard to mental illness, anxieties. And they have been skyrocketing over the past couple of years due to COVID and other stressors, so we have been modifying our curriculum. And for health, we try to modify as much as possible. especially here at Dake, and then as we transfer to the high school. One of the biggest things that we say in regard to the syllabus that we send home. For any student that may or may not feel uncomfortable during a topic, because these topics that we talk about, like I said, aren't day-to-day topics that they talk about. If there's ever a concern, please let myself and Mr. Lembiers know, and we can modify the curriculum. For example, if we are talking about drug use, all home lives are different, right? These could be sensitive topics. I know that health is a sensitive topic, but it's very important that we talk about it and we educate it. Like, when I went to school, we didn't really talk about mental health, anxiety, depression. And that's something that I always encourage that we teach and educate. And there's ways that they can let us know if something's bothering them. Schoology is a great message, private message. You don't have to raise your hand in front of the class. You can give us a note and like a Kleenex box that no one can see it when we have to. So like there's ways that students and parents, please reach out to us because these are different topics. But one thing that we really focus on is empathy. Like I don't know what goes on in your home life, and kids don't know about my home life, but when we talk about it, right, we kind of put ourselves in each other's shoes and be respectful. I think what they learn in health, they can bring to math, they can bring to science, they can bring to sports, especially when it comes to stress and test taking and anxiety and depression. Our job is to educate kids on the importance of understanding decision making, and how can we cope and make proper decisions. Because at 12, 13 years old, you really want to give them the foundation. To be honest, I think health should be incorporated at younger ages. But again, it's 2 quarters here. I probably won't see them again until their 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, because they only take it for another 2 quarters in high school. And that's health, right? That's everyday life, right? So those are our topics. That was it. So that's it. And if you guys, like I said before, if you have any questions, please contact myself or Mr. Lembiers.
And now it's music.
We have entrance music in our head. That's what's going on here.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
I can wait.
I am Patricia Conowitz. I'm the Dake 7th and 8th grade orchestra teacher.
I'm Mark Falco. I teach the choruses here and a lot of the general music.
I'm Patty Welch. I work with the 7th grade band and I assist with the 8th grade band.
And I'm Casey Springstead. I assist with the 7th grade band and direct the 8th grade band.
Alright, so for our big ensembles, so 7th and 8th grade band, 7th and 8th grade orchestra, they rehearse every other day, so either on an A-day cycle or a B-day cycle for a full period. And coming from Rogers and Iroquois, this is a big change because now they are during the day part of their schedule, so no before school component. For the students who are in the jazz band, that ensemble does meet every day for half a period during 5th period. So that's the one instrumental ensemble that does have an everyday rehearsal schedule. And the ensembles are split up by grade level. So other than, again, jazz ensemble, they're all 7th grade separate, 8th grade separate. And then they still have the lesson component here. The lessons now are the full period, and we do make sure to rotate them through multiple periods. That way they're not missing the same class every single week. And I know for the orchestra in particular, I split my lessons with the high school teacher. So if you have an orchestra student, their lesson schedule may not say my name. It could say the high school teacher, which is Miss Merle. We do ask that they hang on to their lesson schedules and treat those as passes so that when they leave their class to come to the lessons, they won't get stopped in the hallway, and we treat those as their free pass to come to their lessons. In case they do lose that schedule, we do have all the schedules posted on the wall outside our door, and we always have extra copies available.
And I think also on Schoology as well. So if you have access to Schoology, you can find the lesson schedules there. Our emphasis is mainly on performance, both in the big ensemble as well as in the small group lessons. So we're going to be really focusing more on the how, and in those small groups lessons, we can see exactly what your students' skills and abilities are and take them from there. But in the large ensemble, we're really looking at and working on major performance for the entire group. We do have 3 concerts every year. You'll find them on the PTSA calendar. They are required because everyone is important, and it's important to have everyone there. In many cases, just having that empty seat next to them can be enough to throw them off. So we want to make sure that all of those concerts make it to the family calendars. The biggest thing that you can do for us to help us encourage your child in music is simply to help establish a practice regime at home. Even if it's just for a small amount of time, more often, a short amount of time can actually be more powerful than just once a week for a large amount of time. So any way you can help set that up at home to help encourage them regularly, or simply just ask them to play for you if they're willing. That will make a big difference from week to week, and we will take them from that point on.
Just a quick plug for Jazz Ensemble. We're still looking for a few trumpet players and trombone players, so if your student might be interested, come talk to me. Thank you.
So, chorus. Like I said, my name is Mark Falco. I teach the choruses. I have several sections of chorus, so your students have chorus every other day. And when they perform, however, they're performing with the big group. So that 4 sections of one choir, they all perform together and practice together. So rehearsals are every other day. It's for the whole year. They are combined 7th and 8th grade groups. So 7th graders and 8th graders are in the same class together. The treble and bass choir, we talked about that with the kids first couple days, and hopefully a paper came home to you that had all that information in it about concert dates and concert attire, and also the why the treble choir, why the bass choir, and how those work, and all that stuff. So all that stuff is in Schoology, or if you want, I have some extra in my room. You can come see me talking about that, but it has to do with the technical needs for the different transitions of voice from high to low. Of course, has an emphasis on using your voice safely and comfortably in an ensemble. There are 3 required concerts a year: a December concert, one in either February or March, and then one in June. Some other options. Sound Crowd is our 8th grade select group, so by the end of 7th grade, that's something I might start talking to my 7th graders about for the following year, 8th grade. And then they said Frog and Toad, I thought I'd change it. That was last year's play. We're doing Lion King Jr. this year. So these are the 2 extra things that we're doing. So Lion King is going to be on stage at Irondequate High School, November, the weekend of like the 19th, 20th, 21st. Yeah, that's it. I also teach general music. A word about general music. General music means every other day for a semester. It's half a year. Emphasis on creativity, critical thinking, debate in relation to music. It's combined 7th and 8th grade levels. I'd like to say this, if I could, as a plug for the ensembles. I teach general music, and I teach the choral ensembles. These guys teach the instrumental ensembles. So I can say this, I think, fairly. Getting involved in an ensemble is an amazing experience. And when kids have not had that opportunity for the last couple of years, it is a heartbreak, okay? So if you can, and there's an encouragement, get them involved in chorus. If they think they might be willing to try to sing, getting involved, the community aspect, the working together, the creation of something, expression, is so very, very different in an ensemble setting than in a general music setting, where I try to give them the tools that they can take and learn music. The last time New York State says they have to take music classes in junior high. So I try to give them that for the future. But
the way that our course works and what we're doing right now, we have finished up Thinking Like a Scientist. We are now working on mass, volume, and how to look at substances in their world through the physical properties, things that you can notice without changing them. We will get into mixtures and solutions and acids and bases. That's always a big favorite. They like the acids and bases unit. They think everything explodes. It doesn't explode, but they think it explodes. So Tomorrow, most of us are doing, Jill did it already, but they do a separation lab where they have iron, sugar, and marbles, and they have to separate it out based on their physical properties. And like I was saying earlier, people who had stopped by, the goal for 7th grade is to actually get the separated pieces mass equal to the total that they started with. That can be a challenge in 7th grade, so that's a goal. We then will head into a major portion of our year, which is actually chemistry. Don't tell your kids chemistry's hard. Don't tell them. They don't know it yet. And we don't want them to know it yet because we think chemistry's super fun, especially me. So we do go into lots of atomic structure, periodic table, reactions. We'll try and light something on fire for them. That's a big hit. They think it's a lot of magic. Perfect. We will then get into Earth's history, reading rock layers, a little bit of earth science to get them a little bit ready for the high school, and we will end with ecology, which is things like predator-prey, ecosystems, stuff like that. So what's cool about science at Dake is we get a little bit of everything, so that's what makes it really fun to teach, too.
I can do it, like I suppose. I'm not as loud as you. So I'm Maureen Monaghan. This is really small, so let me just give you the gist of it. If you're looking for information on your students' grades, Infinite Campus is the way to go. Check it often. The more they know you're looking, the more they will be invested in getting things in. Schoology, we use Schoology in the science department more as a collection of videos, resources, things of that nature. A lot of our Schoology stuff, we do a lot in class with labs, so it's not necessarily on Schoology, but there will be items in there to help them with the content. Final this year. So we have a really cool final in 7th grade. It's pretty much the favorite thing in 7th grade. It's called Mystery in the Mansion. And if you picture this mystery, there's someone that's maybe been hurt, and the kids have to collect information, and they make observations, and they make guesses about who it might be. But it's all modeled after the game Clue. But they're going to be, doing tests to see if the stomach contents had a certain pH and who might have had that substance. And it's really fun to watch them as they're looking at all these different tests that they're doing, the density of an item that was found. Does it match one of our suspects? And seeing them in the halls, no, it wasn't Colonel Mustard, it was Miss Peacock. It's fun. They love it, and it practices their skills that they've learned. It's amazing. They will also have a cumulative final at the end of the year. There will be a review for that, but it makes sure that they have a good understanding of all of our topics. So, how do you get a hold of us? There are a lot of ways you can get a hold of us. You can send us an email, you can send a Schoology message, and Ms. O'Donnell, you use something called, what is that called again? Oh, Remind, yeah. So there's a Remind that Ms. O'Donnell uses, and that's another way that you can get information about what your kids are doing. Thanks.
For grading, our grade book is split up into two main categories. So for the 20% category, so that's weighted less, that's more of like your academic behaviors. So a lot of, the way I explain it to the kids is that if we're still practicing something, it goes into the 20% bucket, and then once they're ready to be assessed on that, it will go into the 80%. And so the assessment might come in the form of a lab, a quiz, a test. It could be just a quick exit ticket, but that's after they've had enough practice. And then when we do give homework, that always goes in the 20% bucket. You're back.
Okay, just so that you know kind of how we teach science, it's a little different. We try to stay away from that skill and drills, kind of from the old days. So we always start out with a phenomenon when at all possible, And then we back up, have the kids ask questions about that phenomenon, and then we work ourselves to the answer where the kids can actually answer it. So 2 examples that we use is we light magnesium on fire, and then at the end of that unit, they can actually write the chemical equation that causes that, know that it's an exothermic reaction, balance it, and it's a lot of chemistry that all comes from just one fun lighting of the magnesium, which is pretty cool. Another one that they always, a fan favorite, is we put 2 bowling balls in water, one sinks, one floats, which they don't expect. And I think, Jill, did you just do that?
Yeah, a few days ago. So their kids have me, you can ask them about that.
Yeah.
They can't explain it yet though.
Yeah. So and by the end of the unit, they will be able to explain the bowling balls. Coke and Diet Coke do the same thing. They show that, and then by the end of the unit, they'll be able to explain why it is that one bowling ball sinks and one floats, and the Coke and Diet Coke works the same way. Please contact us if you have any questions, or if your child's coming home and they're not understanding something. Sometimes they're pretty shy about letting us know that, so please let us know that, and then we can work with them and get them right back on track. All right, and let's see, health and PE.
Good evening, everybody. I feel like I have a good enough PE voice that I don't need the microphone. Can everybody hear me in the back? Are we good? Okay, awesome. So my name is Kaylee Spiral. I'm one of the PE teachers. This is Mr. Taylor, Chris Taylor, also one of the PE teachers, and this is Adam Global, our health teacher. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go over what our physical education program looks like. We are all about, once you get to Dake, really starting to incorporate what we call non-traditional activities, trying to find activities and interests in students that they might not have been exposed to before. So we do a lot of units that are table tennis, badminton, pickleball, things that when they leave school, when they leave high school, they have hopefully found something that they are interested in and feel like they can continue with a lifelong movement, so that they can, continue to be healthy and reap the benefits of being healthy while they're active doing something they enjoy. We are all about creating a really good environment in PE. We get that physical education can sometimes be a little bit stressful for students. Sometimes it can cause some anxiety. So we, from the get-go, create an environment using the 4 Dake core values to really make sure that every student in there feels like they can participate to find success. Our classes are both 7th and 8th. So you have all different teams coming together where students might not know each other. So it's really about creating an environment where everybody feels like they can contribute to the class and that they are going to have a positive time in class as well. I'm just trying to think, this was 3 minutes. So really our only expectation for physical education as far as attire are sneakers. It's really important to have sneakers to make sure that students aren't, or they are decreasing the risk of injuries, so we don't allow Crocs even in sport mode or slides, or I know they're like, it's in sports mode, but we ask for sneakers. They don't have to be, running sneakers, they can be any type of sneakers, even like slip-on Vans, but just that they have a good rubber sole and they are a little bit better for movement and they're not going to potentially injure themselves. So that's the only expectation as far as attire. Oh yeah, so grading, super easy. We always tell our students it's super easy to get 100% in physical education. It's showing up and being actively involved, putting forth effort, and we get that everybody's effort is going to look different. A student's effort might look different from one day to another, just on how they might be feeling. So participation, effort, good sportsmanship, incorporating the Dake core values, and being prepared for class. Because if you don't have sneakers, you can't then earn the other points because unfortunately you can't participate. Just the last thing before we go on to health is the only thing we ask is if your student is going to need to sit out of PE for a day, maybe they're not feeling well that day, but they still need to come to school, or maybe they strain their hamstring, at practice or at gymnastics the night before, you can just write a note. It doesn't have to be extensive, just please let so-and-so be excused from PE for the day. That's totally fine. They don't lose any points. They'll just watch and, sit out for that day. If it's something extensive, where they break a bone or they have a concussion, those notes will come from your doctor, and that will go to the health office, and they will have a study hall, so it takes them out of PE until they get cleared for activity.
On to health, you have myself, Mr. Palumbo, and then Mr. Lambies is the other health teacher.
They are involved in an ensemble. They can go with that for the rest of their school career and hopefully the rest of their lives. This year, we have the Irondequate Corral. It's a community group of people still singing together in chorus. They're meeting in our chorus room every Tuesday night. It's an amazing thing to be able to do it, and I cannot stress it enough. It is an amazing experience, and so I'm going to push it, and I'm going to grab your kids when they're in my music class, like, time to join chorus. So that's what I'm going to do. You can tell if they've already said that I've told that to them. It's no surprise. I'm letting you know, okay? I'm going to try to get them. I want you guys to tell them to get them too. It's an amazing experience, and you're not going to get it as an individual player, okay? So just that. I'm sorry. I'm taking too much time. Preach it. I'm not preaching.
All right, if you have any other questions for us, we'll be around for the rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Welcome. I'm Mr. Evelino, representing the technology department tonight. Mr. Marshall couldn't be here with us, he got sick. You guys gotta be loving this. 42 minutes already of teachers talking at you. It feels like you're in seventh grade, doesn't it? Yay. So I'm gonna try to help you out and navigate through seventh grade technology as quick as I can, give you the highlights, except for, like everybody else, I love what I do and I'm passionate about it. So you're gonna get some of that too, and I might talk for my whole time. Our 7th grade and 8th grade technology programs help prepare students for an experience in engineering, in the trades, if they're interested in that. We have an amazing program at the high school we try to prepare students for. So we try to make sure that we introduce those topics in 7th grade that help students have an experience to prepare, to grab an interest, so we give them a little bit of everything. Our current unit that we're working on, I lost all my good stuff, I'm with it. Our current unit that we're working on, we're working kids through communication with technology. How do you draft up ideas? How do you share those ideas in a way that others can understand? If your son or daughter has a technology class right now, they're probably walking home saying, my favorite teacher is, it's either going to be Mr. Evelyn or Mr. Marshall. It's almost always the way that it works. Technology usually is a fun, hands-on experience for kids. The coursework, we're right now going through that communications piece. We're going to take that communications, learning how to communicate with somebody in a way they understand in terms of drawing. The drawing is done by hand, done on the computer. We'll take those concepts there, develop products. The projects that we build, when I was in school, everybody did the exact same thing. Now we turn it into, I want to see what you can come up and create. The creativity that comes out of the classroom is amazing. The depth of understanding how to go through those processes is really, really fun. So I hope when you see those projects come home, you'll ask your son or daughter what went into it. We'll ask them about the designs for their projects. Now, some of you don't have son or daughter in tech yet. That's the second semester for some. And you'll see that coming your way. So if you're looking, it's not on the schedule right now. It'll be coming. The majority of the coursework in this class is projects. We have Mr. Marshall and I both post everything that we do on Schoology. Almost everything that we do that requires it, we have a video to show how to. We've got a lot of videos for how to do some of the drawings to help. We both use that Schoology page regularly to update, let your kid, your son or daughter know what's going on. So if you're looking in there, it's really helpful too. Other things as a parent that I would want to think about, safety. Yeah, that's probably a concern for anybody, right? If you walk by, we got bandsaws in that classroom. It tends to heighten the level of concern for parents. Mr. Marshall and I, knock on wood, have never had anybody injured to any level that myself personally, a Band-Aid didn't take care of, and that didn't happen on a bandsaw. Those are the cuts and things that happen, scrapes. So our injuries are very, very minor. It's the stuff that happens in a math class. Usually people are trying to avoid getting hurt, right? So we teach how to use tools safely as part of our curriculum as well. And then, like I said, we prepare students for that 8th grade and high school experience doing some of the things that we can do. In communications, we do design projects, CO2 race cars is a student favorite little competition project. Coming up very soon is 3D printing. So we try to bring everything that we can into the classroom. Both Mr. Marshall and myself also teach at the high school engineering courses. So we've got engineering at the high school, we've got an auto shop, we have a construction lab, we try to give every kid what's right for them, right? Explore it. If they have a great time here, they go to the high school, they do more, they have great futures, they're excited, they're making crazy money, and they come back and see how wonderful their futures were. Right? That's exactly what we want from them. So, if you didn't already get a little info, on the front table on the way by, across the hallway when you guys are done tonight, you can stop by. Also, cheap plug, I'm a snow sports advisor. If you haven't already signed up for snow sports, we've got like 24 seats left. All right, thank you all so much. Have fun.
Hi everyone, we are going to be presenting about Math 7. So on the Math 7 teachers, we have Kaylee Repass, she is on the Sapphire team. Jeff Ubelacher is on the Amethyst team, but he could not be here tonight. He has a volleyball game. And I am Becca Klupski, and I teach the Ruby team.
So on the slide is a little information about how we are grading this year in math. So our grade book is broken up into two sections. We have 80%, which is our assessments, and 20%, which is called academic behavior. So in the 80% would be homework, any tests or quizzes that we give, and in the 20% is really things like, did you turn in your homework on time? Did you participate in an activity? Did you show your work when you were doing your homework? So our homework this year is actually going to have 2 grades. It will have 1 grade in the 80%, which is how well did you do your homework, and then 1 grade in the 20%, which will be the did you turn it in on time and did you show your work when you were doing it. On the side there is our scale for how we grade assessments. So each question, typically in an assessment, will be based on that scale. So 4 being the most points, that means that the student did the problem perfectly, they had mastery of that. And it goes all the way down to 1 being that they got started, but most of it was incorrect. So what I like to point out to my students is that there is no 0 on that scale. So the only way they're not going to receive credit is if they don't try a problem. So as long as they are trying and putting something down on their paper, they're going to get at least 1 point, and then we'll work to getting higher in that mastery scale.
So our unit assessments look a little different. So once we're done with the unit, they will engage with an assessment on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Wednesday, we like to call it, that's like their practice round. So they'll take the test, after having reviewed. They will get the test back on Thursday, and that test will have a cover sheet based on the topics that we covered throughout the lessons. And they'll see that same scale 4 to 1 for each of the topics. So they know that if they got a 4, they did master that topic, and anything lower is something they still need to work on based on our feedback. In class, we do those corrections, and then they take some time to do some practice. And then the questions that they got incorrect or did not master, they will then take those questions again on Friday. So if they got 2 questions wrong on Wednesday and then take those 2 questions on Friday, they would receive full credit and would end up with a 100. You'll also notice that when a test comes home, you won't see a score at the top of it. We want the kids to focus on the feedback and maybe the mistakes that they made, and not just focus on, well, what is that score? So you won't see the score in Infinite Campus until the retake has been completed. In Schoology is where we house all of our important information. So if your child is absent, they can find the notes in Schoology for that day. We do provide that for everybody, so you can take a look at that anytime if you ask your child to see that. Each unit is broken up into separate folders, so it's very easy to navigate for the students. We put other things in there, different activities and different kind of homework help stuff. So you guys have access to that, and the kids have access to that at home too. All right, thank you.
We're pretending we're walking out to music, so imagine the best soundtrack ever. And smoke machine.
They said finish strong, here we are.
Okay, get information, guys.
So we've got 40 slides for you. All right, we are the lovely ladies of English 7 and also our wonderful support lab teachers.
Response to intervention or AIS services.
So I'm Corey Rooney. I am the Ruby English 7 teacher.
Stephanie Gittens, Sapphire English teacher.
I'm Beth Ford. I teach ELA Lab.
I'm Melissa Pellett-Swiderski, and I teach Reading Lab.
Mrs. Bean, who is the Amethyst team English teacher, she couldn't be here tonight because she is with the cross-country team
Out in Spencerport.
So she
Probably
sends her
cold.
well wishes to anybody whose children have her. All right. So our ELA goals for the year are pretty straightforward. There shouldn't be any surprises here. We want your kids to leave Dake as more independent readers, writers, thinkers. We want them to be able to make their own decisions on the things that they enjoy doing. We want them to have agency in the choices that they make. So that's what we're going to work with them on. We want them to become familiar with standards-based rubrics and mastery learning. So we're going to do a lot of explicit teaching and work with them on the skills that they need to have by the time they leave 7th grade. We try to focus on 1 to 2 standards with each of our units. We want them to develop a deeper appreciation and understanding for their own responsibility when it comes to their own academic achievement and keep track of their progress along the way. We want them to take pride in their accomplishments both individually and as a group. So we'll kind of keep track of some data that we're seeing, and we don't just take tests and then nothing ever happens with them. We'll talk about them. We'll talk about why certain questions were tricky, so on and so forth. And finally, we want them to have an appreciation for and live out our Dake community values. So we did a lot of explicit teaching and explicit work with those at the beginning of the year. So when you get home tonight, ask your kids what the community values are, and hopefully they'll be able to tell you.
And in ELA Lab, we taught the words that are in the community values because they all said, we know these already. We said, great, what's mutually mean? Really know it. And then we talked about how to spell it. We talked about what was a long vowel, what was a short vowel, and how were the syllables connected. So in ELA Lab and in Reading Lab, we are working with a very small population of kiddos, and these are the kiddos who need the extra academic support specifically in reading. So targeted instruction with phonemic awareness, encoding, decoding. We're hitting reading comprehension, but through the lens of making sure you can read the words on the page. And we know that in junior high, students who are struggling readers, or no, we don't call them struggling, we call them striving readers, tend to try to avoid it, just avoid it. So I'm thrilled that the English department is going to be having students read books of choice on their own at home. This year, that's fantastic. The students that end up in ELA Lab and Reading Lab are not self-selecting or parent-selecting. It's based on the assessments that we give. So you probably have heard a little bit about the iReady assessment, all the way through 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. And then also we'll look at the New York State test data. And then we also screen them for some spelling,
Some fluency,
yeah.
some fluency, and some decoding assessments and that sort of thing. That's how they come into reading and or ELA Lab.
And then there's also, just so that you know, it's not homework support. So this is different from the kiddo who just didn't do his homework. This is not that kind of an intervention. That would be support study. That's it.
You also might see that your student has a class called Humanities on their schedule. If that's the case, we English teachers also teach that course. Up here on the screen, you'll see the 3 units that we cover in our semester-long course. We're just about wrapping up our first unit on identity, and you can see up there what we have done in the unit. We're just getting started on our 100-word autobiography project, which is shaping up to be pretty exciting. After that, we're going to move into a unit called The Power Within, where we talk about choices that students make and their impact on others and themselves. We talk about obstacles, and we're going to launch what's called the Dake Does Good Challenge that you'll hopefully see on social media and chat with your student about. And then finally, we end Humanities with our Wonder Project, which is a student-led research project where the students come up with a question that they want to find the answer to, something that they're interested in. They guide their own research, and then they independently create some kind of presentation to share their new knowledge with their peers. So it's a really exciting course. It's our second year teaching it, and you might see it on your student schedule now. Or
good afternoon, Dake parents. This concludes our grade 7 courses for this evening. And I want to thank our 7th grade teachers as well as our 7th grade parents for coming this evening and to just have a conversation and sharing around the expectations for 7th grade. I know that a lot of time went in over the summer, thanks to our counselors and administrators for that important transition from middle school to junior high. And I think things have gone well for the first couple of weeks, thanks to all of that front-loaded work over the summer. We are now going to begin the transition to our grade 8. So if you are an 8th grade parent, feel free to stop in either at the all-purpose room or the gymnasium. We'll begin our building presentations in about 7:10. I'm going to do a welcome right now so that I can have the teachers start right at 7:10. I'd like to welcome our 8th grade parents. My name is Dake. Again, I'm the proud interim principal at Dake Junior High, and I've been here for 2 weeks and then fallen in love with your school, your community, your students, and your staff. It's just been an amazing atmosphere to learn and grow, and hopefully you're hearing some of those great qualities as your kids come home every day. So thanks for being here this evening. I know that it's a very, very busy week, and kind of probably one of the nicest nights we've had in quite a while to mow the lawn. So thanks for your choice for being here this evening, and I think you'll love our 8th grade presentations. So again, if you're an 8th grade parent, start heading towards either the all-purpose room or the gymnasium for your 8th grade presentations from your teachers. And again, have a great night and have a great weekend.
All right. Well, that concludes our